your boy KP.
And Mike the Expert.
You now tune into the Two Player Sports Podcast. We wanted to come on Wax this week and give y'all some of our thoughts on, the NBA teams that are kicking off this year. We wanted to review each team. So this week we're going to review two teams a week, and we're going to be dropping them. So we're going to start with two teams in the East and then move to two teams in the West. We're just going alphabetical order to make it super easy and simple. With that being said, Mike the Expert, what's the first team that we are going to review this week?
The first team that we're going to review this week is going to be the Atlanta Hawks.
That's what's up. Hey, I know we got a lot of Hawks fans out there, so I know we're going to really dive into what the Hawks are going to do. But before we dive into what they're going to do, let's take a look back and see what happened last year. So we all know that the Hawks finished in the play-in tournament and finished basically 500, 41-41. It was a good season, but also an up and down season. Had a coaching change, went from Coach McMillan to now Coach Snyder. I think now we'll get a real opportunity to really see what the Hawks are now, having a full offseason with Coach Snyder to see what the difference is going to be between him and Coach McMillan. Hopefully we can see Dejounte and Trae be on the same page and be able to move forward in a positive way. Mike, looking back at last season, kind of what stands out to you that you want to kind of speak on or see the Hawks address?
Well, one of the main things that they have to do is kind of get the ball out of Trae's hands as much. You know, Trae, even though he's a great player, well, he's a real good player, he gets a lot of turnovers. They need to put the ball in Murray's hands a lot more and let him, do what he does and let Trae just, kind of play off the ball a little bit. He can still handle some, but he shouldn't have it so much because the offense gets stagnant when Trae has the ball in his hands for so long. And then, Trae to me is just not that number one guy that's going to lead you to a championship. So they need some more around them. They might even need a better player, another star with them, even though Murray is real good. And I think they should play off of Murray. But, I think they're going to need a little bit more, well, a lot more to really get to that promised land.
I agree with you 100% as far as I think that Dejounte should be the point guard moving forward. I think Trae should be off the ball. Although he's an undersized guard, we've seen that work in Philadelphia. I'm not saying that he's Allen Iverson by any stretch of the imagination. We see it work for the Warriors too because Steph Curry is not the traditional point guard that kind of sets up the offense. He's more of a shooting guard in the sense of their team and what works best for them. And I'd like to see Trae be in that same spot. I would like to see Dejounte initiate the offense and then Trae work from there. I think that would also help them out with the pick and roll offense and make it even more potent because you wouldn't know who's initiating the pick and roll, whether it's Dejounte or Trae. That frees up a lot. Plus, I think Trae would get a lot of easier shots coming off the ball on pin downs and different things like that or the floppy action as opposed to some of the over dribbling he has to do to get himself open. So I think it would open the floor up a lot for him when we kind of look at that. So before we kind of move forward, we do need to address that the Hawks did have a little bit of, I guess moves in the offseason. They traded John Collins to the Utah Jazz. What do you think about that trade?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, they didn't really get anything, for John Collins. I think they either should have got rid of him a long time ago, or since they didn't get rid of him a long time ago, then they should have just stuck with him. His trade value was a lot lower than it was, which the Hawks are known for doing that. They keep a lot of people for too long, i.e. Josh Smith, Joe Johnson, people in the past, and they just did that again, and that's why their team just never gets to that next level. So I think at this point, they probably should have kept John Collins and tried to build. If they're going to get rid of him, they should have did it a long time ago.
I agree 100%. I think that they're going to really miss John Collins. I know that they are going to lean heavily on Quint Capella as well as Big O as far as the pick and roll action goes. But I'm not sure what that's going to look like. Yeah. And I know John Collins had the finger injury, so his shooting went down. You definitely don't want to trade a player when their value is at its lowest. You got a guy in Rudy Gay that you end up cutting that's not even on your roster now. And you got a a pick, but
Yeah.
when you look at where the Hawks are, they're not bad enough for a pick to really matter. You're not good enough to say you are competing for a
Mhm.
championship yet. So again, I would have held on to him, hoping that his value would
And you
go up
can't
next season.
Yeah, you can't really depend on a guy like Clint Capella. I mean, Clint Capella is older now. He's an undersized big man. It was good when he was, a little bit younger. Back when he was with Houston, he was undersized, but he still can do a little bit more. Now he's undersized and old. So I mean, you can't even really depend on that. They're going to suffer there too.
Right. And then when you're talking about too, you're starting to mix in Big O, who's the backup right now. And I think when you mix him in, he's still undersized as well. His game has developed a lot. I like the
Yeah,
direction he's going. I think moving forward, Sadiq Bey will probably be starting in the 4 spot, which I do like that because he can shoot, he can stretch the
yeah.
floor. Uh, but let's kind of
Hmm.
dive into the two big players on the Hawks and look at the numbers and just kind of break that down a little bit for the fans and kind of see what do we see when we look at the numbers.
Well, we can start with the turnovers. Trae Young averages 4 turnovers a game, 4.1 a game, which for him is probably good, but it's actually, it's not a good thing for, if you're going to be the leader of the team, you're going to have the ball in your hands every time. So, especially if you're getting
That's
them in critical moments.
That's a huge problem for me, averaging 4 turnovers a game. And Trae actually led the league in assists and turnovers.
Yeah.
I like a lot of people like to throw those numbers out there and say that,
Hmm.
Trae was scoring almost 29 a game and 10 assists a game, but he's also leading the league in turnovers. You can't lead the league in turnovers and assists and be successful. I think
Yeah,
that's a recipe for disaster. And that's another reason why I say Dejounte should be the
exactly.
primary initiator of the point guard. So when we look at Trae's numbers, I'm looking at his field goal
Yeah.
percentage, 43, not bad. 33 is kind of concerning for me for him being a marksman from 3 point. I would like for you to be closer to 35 to 40%
Mm.
if you're a real dead-eye 3 point shooter. And I think moving
Yeah.
him off the ball will help that. He's not going to have these situations where he has to do so much dribbling to
Yeah.
get the three off.
You see, that's the issue. They look at Trae as this 3-point shooter. Trae shoots a lot of bad shots. He wants to be Steph Curry. So he's going to shoot from the half court and shoot from this, but he's not actually a great 3-point shooter. He just shoots a lot of them. And if you're an NBA person, if you're an NBA star and you shoot 10 3-pointers from half court, yeah, you're going to hit one of them. You're going to look good. It's going to, oh, I hit one of them. But he shoots a lot of bad shots. He gets a lot of turnovers. I hate to be so negative on Trae, but I just think the Hawks messed up. Of course I think he messed up with that Luka Trae Young trade, and I think it's hurting them, and they're starting to see that.
Right.
Trae averages about 26 points a game, 4 turnovers. Yeah, he gets 10 assists, but you get 4 turnovers, that kind of offsets it a little
Right. Now
bit.
you're really down to 6 assists
I
when
just
you add
think,
the turnovers in.
yeah, yeah, and Trae Young's defense is pitiful. So, you might be getting 26 points, but the guy he's guarding is going to score 36. And so I just, you know, I just don't think that they're going to have enough. I know you probably think that they're a playoff team. I think they're on the fringe. I think there's a possibility they can wind up not making the playoffs. And if they do make the playoffs, they're a first round out anyway. So it doesn't even matter.
I disagree a little bit. I think that they are a team that will make it into the playoffs, whether it's a play in or whether they just straight up make it to the 6 spot. And I think they're a dangerous team in the playoffs. They proved that last year by pushing Boston in a tough series. It wasn't an easy series for Boston to get out of, although Boston was far better team. And then you look, this is where the positives from Trae do stand out for me. In the regular season, you're right. He averaged 26. In the playoffs, he did what he was supposed to do and went up and averaged 29. And again, I know we kind of sound like a broken record, but if you
Yeah.
move him off the ball, now you can be more effective. You're getting better looks. And if you kind of look at Steph Curry and him being a little bit similar
Hmm.
mold, Steph Curry light, when Steph Curry was younger in his career, he got shots off of a lot of screens, which made it easy for him and which made him get a lot of good
Yeah.
looks as opposed to taking
Hmm.
dribble, 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 step back, and now shoot three. So let's
No,
talk
I
about
mean, I
Dejounte
agree.
Murray.
I agree. Oh, okay, okay.
Go ahead. You
Well,
had
let's
something
talk
else you
about.
wanted. You said you had something else you wanted to add
What,
about Trae.
no, no. I was just gonna say. I mean, I agree with your what you were saying about Steph Curry, how he came off screens, and Trey Young should possibly really do the same thing. Come off screens, get his open shots that way instead of having to dribble, 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 shoot. You know, he's not James Harden. You know, so they shouldn't really be playing him like that. And he's small, and he's not as quick as some of the other guards like that. So yeah, he might need to come off screens and get his shot like that. Most definitely.
I will say this one thing before we move off of Trae. I would like to see his leadership improve. Um, there's a lot of conversation of
Yeah, yeah.
leadership questions. You're getting into it with your coach. You don't show up for a game, and there's this confusion of whether you're going to play or not. I would love to see all that nipped in the bud, and maybe that just be, you know, possibly you and Coach McMillan didn't get along, but now you're on coach number 3. You didn't get along with Lloyd Pierce. You didn't get along with Nate McMillan. I would like to see that turn, and maybe kind of like Allen Iverson. And I'm not saying Trae is Allen Iverson by any stretch of the imagination, but he had a rough relationship with coaches until Larry Brown showed up. So maybe this will be a good turn for Trae. Well, let's talk about Dejounte Murray. We know the Hawks re-signed him, and I think it was kind of necessary. After the draft capital that you gave up to get him, you had to bring him back. It just didn't make any sense to let him walk. What are the numbers telling you about Dejounte Murray?
Yeah, yeah. Well, DeJounte Murray, the numbers are telling me that the ball should be in his hands. I mean, he's only getting about 2 turnovers a game, which for a guard, that's decent right there. That's good for a guard. He's getting 2 turnovers a game. He's already averaging over 20 a game, 20 points. If he has the ball in his hands more, I think the point production is going to go up even more. He gets about 6 assists. You know, that's actually not bad, especially being that the ball is not in his hands as much as Trae Young, and he's still getting only 4 less assists than Trae Young. So I think with the ball in his hand, his numbers are going to go up, and I think it's going to help Trae Young's game, and I think it's going to help his game. And at that time, I still don't think they're going to be a playoff team, but I still think that they'll be, a playoff threat, a threat to make, like right on the fringe. So what was that?
I would agree with that. And one of the things I would say about DeJounte, he's very efficient. 46% from field goal range. And then you're looking at a guy that's shooting 35% from the 3. And in the playoffs, up that to 37%, almost 38%. That's what you really want out of your guard. And I
Yeah.
really like what he's doing. He's clearly the best perimeter defender on the team. He still does a great job getting steals.
Oh
He
yeah. No
pressures,
doubt.
the other guy's guard very well. Although he's not like a super big dude, he has
Mhm.
good size to guard the smaller guard or the bigger guard at the shooting guard or point guard. Now, it gives you a lot of flexibility. And I think by having him, it helps hide some of what Trae doesn't do well on defense, that you can now, attack their best player with DeJounte Murray. I think like you said, I want to see him be the point guard moving forward. I would like to see him initiate the offense. We saw him do it very well in San
Mhm.
Antonio. He was an all-star when he did that. And I think it would help him and Trae. Here's where I have a big question and kind of where the Hawks are, I think, the biggest need that needs to be addressed, or we need to understand what we got. Trae is what he is. DeJounte is what he is.
Yeah.
I think the one in the mix that we really need to address is DeAndre Hunter. You have a guy who's the 4th pick that has been
Mm.
incredibly inconsistent, that sometimes shows up and, gives you 30, 40 in a game that doesn't matter, but in games that matter doesn't show up and is not a difference maker. And for a 4th pick, I need this guy to be more impactful, and who also has a bad injury history, in my opinion. What are you seeing when it comes to Hunter?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I see those same things. I need them to be more impactful. I mean, 15 points a game is not bad. Don't get me wrong. I mean, when you got guys like Trae Young and these guys on your team that have the ball in their hands a lot, it's going to be hard for you to get more points. It's going to be hard for you to get 20 a game and so on and so forth. So I do kind of lay off of them a little bit. I think if they switch it around, like we said, with Trae Young being off the ball and Murray actually handling it and distributing it and stuff like that, then I think you will see Hunter, in better positions. Hunter being able to really get more points, add more to the team. So I think next season, if they do that, I think they're going to be able to. He's going to be in a better place next season, as long as he's not injured. As long as he can, stay on the court.
I hope so. We'll see. Also, kind of looking at some of the other things I like about the Hawks, I will say I really like Bogdanovich. I think he's a really, really underrated six man.
Oh yeah,
The guy plays
yeah,
hard.
most
He
definitely.
gives you offense. He gives you defense. He gives you effort. So I really want to see him be utilized more. I like the maturation of Jalen Johnson. I'm just not sure that he can play power forward full time because he's very slight of frame. I like AJ Griffin as well.
Yeah.
Good 3-point shooter. I want to see him get more minutes.
Mhm.
And I'm intrigued to see what Kobe Buffkin brings to the team as well. When you kind of look at the bench, who are the one or two
Yeah.
guys that stand out for you?
Oh man, I'm not a big fan of this team, so I do like Bogdan. I do I do like the fact that they have 3-point shooters on their team. They
Right.
have some people that can actually knock down the three that have a better percentage than Trae Young, like Bogdan. His 44%. You got AJ Griffin is a 46% 3-point shooter. I think this year, if they're able to highlight that more, get those guys open, run their offense so that those guys can get open and get open threes. I think that they will be better. If they can utilize their team more, then they might be a playoff team in my eyes. But they just got to be able to get the ball out of Trae Young's hands and get the ball to these people. Run these people off screens, run Trae Young off screens, have more of a motion offense. Look at Golden State, how they're running all the time. They're going off screens. That's what I think Atlanta needs. If they can do that, then they'll be one of the better teams in the East because they have the players, but they just got to get it together.
I would agree with you 100%. And that's kind of what I'm seeing. And I like Quinn Snyder. I think if you look at what he did for Donovan Mitchell, he really, really made
Yeah.
things a lot easier, and Mitchell will shine under him as a coach. I think I was hopeful to see the same thing with Trae Young. It's a good possibility, but only time will tell. So now we got to talk about real quick and just kind of dive into this and start to put a bow on it. So we look at where the Hawks are. Of course, their NBA 2K rating is 81, power ranking 17, which I think is a little high, personally. Especially because it's not just the East power ranking. We're talking about the whole NBA. That's why I said it's a little high. If it was the East,
Yeah.
then that still would need to be tweaked. But with all the transactions that have happened, 17 is I guess it makes sense. They're in the middle. 81 again as a team rating is not bad. Where do you have the Hawks finish in the year? Where do you see them at?
As far as their record, their standings?
Yeah, so far as their standings. So you can either give me the record or you can say, hey, they're gonna finish in 8th place or 9th place. Where do you have them at?
Well, yeah, so like I said, I don't think they're a playoff team. I think they may ease into the I think they may ease into the play in, but I don't even know if they're gonna do that. They were at 500 last. I think they're gonna
41
end
and 41.
below 500. Yeah, they're at 41, so they're right at 500. I think they're going to end below 500 this season. Honestly, I just don't think that they have what it takes.
Yeah. So you had them in like
I don't have
9th
much
place.
faith.
Like basically you
Yeah,
right at the play-in threshold.
Exactly. Unless there's a lot of injuries with other teams, I think that's the only way they're really going to get in there. But other than injuries, I think they're out of the play-in. They're out of the playoffs. Yeah, and they may make the play in. They can squeeze in there because there's a lot of bad teams, but I don't have much faith in them. I don't have much faith in Trae Young.
Especially when you start talking about the East. The East is top heavy, man. When you really it's the top 5 teams, really 4 between 4 and 5 teams in the East, and then there's everybody else, and there's a big gap in those top 5 teams. You're talking about Boston. You're talking about Milwaukee. You're talking about the Cavs. You're talking about the Knicks, the Heat. That's the top 5 to me when you're talking about the East. And then there's a big trail off after that. So I think that's what gives the Hawks opportunity. So I would say with them having Snyder now, having a full off season, I see them doing a little bit better. So I'm gonna step out there. I know I'll be drinking the Kool-Aid. Y'all know I'm the bandwagon man. So I'm gonna step out there a little bit, and I'm gonna have them winning probably 3 more games than they did last year. So they won't be 500. They'll be on the plus side. They are going to win some more games because they have a good home record and a good home advantage. Phillips Arena is not an easy place to play in when it's really loud. So that bodes well for them as well. So I have them also in the play-in, but instead of having to play 2 games, I'm gonna have them playing 1 game.
Man, Phillips Arena, Atlanta, they don't care nothing about the Atlanta Hawks. Atlanta cares about they care about the Braves. They care about all the other teams. Nobody cares about the Hawks. You go to a Hawks game, you can sit wherever you want. You can get a nosebleed seat and sit in the front row. You sit on the bench.
You sit next to Gucci Man. You sit next to Gucci Man.
Hawks. You sit next to Gucci Man. Nobody cares about that. Nobody out here cares about the Atlanta Hawks. They need to win some games. They need to get some more players, for people to care. This is just not an Atlanta Hawks team.
All right, I have them finished in 7th. I'm gonna go with 7. I feel good there. I know that's the play-in, but that's okay. I have them finished 7. 7, you host a home playing game.
I thought you were. Yeah. I thought you were gonna say they were going to the finals or something.
No,
your prediction be crazy out there like that.
Come on, there's still this team.
They were gonna sweep. They're gonna sweep through the playoffs.
There's still this team that we got to cover, and that we're gonna cover in the next episode called the Boston Celtics. That just made some big moves.
Yes, so I can't wait.
I don't see them getting through them. So
yes, that's a better team.
Yeah. So we'll on the next episode we gonna talk about the Celtics. We're gonna see, y'all gonna hear how we feel about them and give our predictions for the season and give our predictions as far as record and kind of break down the numbers like we did for the Hawks. Hawks fans, we want to hear from y'all. Do y'all agree with what we said? Do you disagree with Mike the expert? Let us know. Type in the comments. Let us know if you see the Hawks making the playoffs. Yeah, he's an expert of all things. Let us know if you agree with me and you see a little bit brighter future. Let us know if you think that Trae is that guy and that he should be an all-star. We want to hear from y'all. We're going to comment back to you guys and interact. Please like, share, subscribe. Mike, tell them where they can find us at.
I mean, they can find us in all places. You can find us on social media. You can find us Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You can find us everywhere. You can look on YouTube and find us. You can find us anywhere. Google us. We're there. Two Player Podcast, baby.
Hey, we'll see y'all in the next one when we cover the Boston Celtics. We out.